Google was the tail of the other. And Google, let's be very clear, Google had a good result. I said Google was good, Microsoft was great, but in an economy where people are pretty skeptical,
Yeah.
and we're kind of on stilts, and we got the interest and inflation, and we got politics and war and all the things going on, good, unfortunately, doesn't cut it. But you're talking about a company that showed stability in its advertising, stability in its YouTube business, stability in its cost controls. It beat on the top, it beat on the bottom, and it missed, I'm not joking, guess how much it missed its Google Cloud number by?
20 million.
$20 million.
Yeah.
You're talking on high hundreds of millions. Like almost one of those where you're like, didn't they have anything they could bill?
Right. Couldn't you pull in a deal or
Pull in
something?
one deal at the end. And I mean, I know, this is how you know this stuff's real, is that sometimes it does work that way when numbers are this big. But having said that, Pat, look, I went on, I was talking to CNBC about this, and I basically said, this is a company that I'm seeing real customers, real innovation, real product, real GA. We've had time with Thomas Kurian. They've moved to profitability. They're growing the company successfully. This is not end of days stuff. They grew 22% in the cloud.
Right.
22%. Yes, Microsoft grew faster. Microsoft took share. And, AWS grew 12%. And obviously, it's always about the guide. AWS is much bigger. So when you're $80 billion a year plus, but the point is that all these companies are at different stages. All these companies measure things differently. But here's why Google got hammered is I don't think it's the early AI setback. The early AI setback, I think they've overcome, my personal belief.
They did, and if you look at the charts from Microsoft and Google, they brought that in.
They reeled that in.
Yeah.
But I do think their ability to describe their monetization, whether it's Duet, whether it's Google Cloud, it just wasn't there. It wasn't there. And like I said, it was a flawless execution from Satya Nadella and Microsoft. And it was a very kind of run-of-the-mill earnings presentation, which was fine with good numbers.
Right.
But the difference right now is when people are going to put $1 somewhere, they want to be blown away. And when it comes to AI, OpenAI, the Copilot story, Microsoft has just done a bit better work so far. But I'm not ruling Google out. I really like what Google's done. And the time I've spent with them, I think they've come a long, long way, baby. And I think it's going to be okay from here. This was not end of days for Google.
It's good analysis, Dan. I think the clawback had a lot to do with expectations. And I think it's a natural thing that when you think of generative AI, you would think of a company like Google. And I think that investors were just disappointed that the numbers weren't a whole lot bigger. So the expectation was that they're going to be able to take advantage of generative AI. And based on those expectations, they didn't. The reality is they had a really good quarter, and quite frankly, I think investors should have been happy that the advertising business didn't crater, given the state of the global economy.
It was good,
right?
It was good.
And the fact that they came back with YouTube really well, I thought was super impressive. On the search part, it really, how are you going to gain if you're Google on search versus Bing? Right, and Bing, they announced another share gain on that and the Edge browser. And if you're not using Edge, you're using Chrome. Now, investors didn't know that because it was a day later. But again, and that's what brings me to the point that this is all about expectation. They have brought Duet into Workspace, but then again, the percentage of revenue and the amount of revenue they drive out of that is somewhat inconsequential compared to hardcore Google Cloud IaaS has versus the overall advertising business. That's all I got.
Yeah, it was. I think you said that really well, and I think we're gonna see continued progress, but it's hard to compete with near perfect.